I had nothing. No job. No home. No future. After resigning as a nanny, life hit me harder than I could have ever imagined. Work was impossible to find. The subtle discrimination followed me everywhere. Jobs that I was qualified for suddenly weren't hiring. Interviews that started with smiles ended with vague promises of callbacks that never came. My savings drained faster than I could keep up, and before long, I couldn't even pay my rent. Then came the worst of it. The woman I had worked for, my former employer, had always seemed bothered by the fact that I never fell for her subtle manipulations, never let her break me. Maybe that's why she decided to frame me. One day, I woke up to police officers pounding on my door, accusing me of stealing from her. If you are still reading up to this point, it is because you love the story. Please like and subscribe to this channel. Now, let's continue with the story. I was thrown in jail like a common criminal. For days, I rotted in a cold, stinking cell, surrounded by women who had seen far worse than me. Hunger gnawed at my stomach, but the fear was worse. What if no one believed me? What if this was how my life ended? Alone, discarded, humiliated? In the end, it was the small Muslim community I had once belonged to that saved me. A kind older man, a distant acquaintance, used his influence to get me out. But freedom came at a cost. My savings were gone, and my reputation was in shambles. No one wanted to hire an accused thief, even if the charges were false. So I wandered the streets, dragging my suitcase behind me, feeling like a ghost. The city moved on around me, bright lights and laughter mocking my suffering. My stomach growled, but I had no money for food. My body ached, but I had nowhere to sleep. That was the night I ran into Bella. She had been an acquaintance back in the days when life still made sense. When she spotted me, sitting on a sidewalk with my arms wrapped around myself, she whistled low. "Damn, Fatima. What happened to you?" I was too ashamed to answer. But Bella had always been the type to take things in stride. She sighed, pulled me to my feet, and led me back to her apartment. For a while, I had a place to stay, a roof over my head. But Bella was no saint. She was a prostitute. At night, she brought men home, sometimes one, sometimes two. They drank, smoked, and had sex for hours. I had to hide in the other room, pressing my hands over my ears, pretending I didn't hear the moans, the laughter, the rough sounds of flesh against flesh. It was unbearable. Not just the noise, but what it did to me. I was lonely. I was desperate. I was horny. I hadn't had sex in so long, and every night the sounds of pleasure seeped into my skin, making me ache with need. I would say my prayers, trying to drown out the sinful thoughts, but my body betrayed me. Some nights, I felt like I was losing my mind. Then Bella started pressuring me. "You need to get a tattoo," she said one day, exhaling a cloud of smoke. "And maybe a little buttocks enlargement. You'll make good money, Fatima." I refused. She rolled her eyes. "You're already halfway there. You're barely wearing your hijab anymore." She wasn't wrong. I had started leaving it off sometimes, trying to blend in, to look less like an outsider so I could find work. But I wasn't ready to throw away everything. Not yet. Still, the fear of being kicked out kept me silent. Bela was doing me a favor by letting me stay. I couldn't afford to make her angry. Then, one night, everything changed. Bela had brought home 2 clients. I was in the other room, trying to find something on the shelf when my hand knocked over a glass. It crashed to the floor. The laughter stopped. I froze, my blood turning to ice. One of the men spoke. What the fuck was that? Bela tried to brush it off. Nothing. Just something that fell. But they weren't convinced. There's someone else here, isn't there? I heard footsteps. Heavy, angry. Bela's voice was tight with panic. It's nothing, I swear. The door burst open. I was on my knees, praying, my whole body trembling. The moment they saw me, everything went silent. Then came the anger. You've been recording us? One of them demanded. I shook my head quickly. No, I swear. Lying bitch. One grabbed my arm. Another reached for my skirt. I screamed. Bela screamed too, pushing between us. Please, don't do this. They didn't listen. Desperation took over. Bela grabbed a mug from the table and smashed it against one of the men's heads. That was my chance. I ran. Out of the apartment. Out into the dark streets. I ran until I couldn't breathe, until my legs gave out. Then, nothing. I woke up in a strange room. Soft sheets under me. The smell of medicine in the air. For a moment, I thought I was dead. Then I saw him. A man dressed in white, his face blurred by my exhaustion. He looked like a malaika, an angel. I tried to speak, but my throat was dry. Where am I? His voice was warm. You're safe. I let out a breath I didn't know I had been holding. Safe. For the first time in years, I believed it. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't running from anything. Mustafa's touch didn't feel like a sin. It felt like a prayer, something sacred, something I could surrender to without shame. He never took. He only gave. And when he held me, I wasn't a woman who had been used, discarded, or forced into dark places. I was his, and he was mine. But the world doesn't let happiness last. One evening, as I was preparing dinner, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. You think you've escaped? Lol. I know where you are. My hands went cold. The knife clattered to the counter. Bela. It had to be her. But was it a warning, or was she the threat? I deleted the message, breathing hard. I didn't tell Mustafa. He had done enough for me. I wouldn't bring my past into his home. I convinced myself it was nothing. Just an attempt to scare me. But 2 nights later, as I was leaving the grocery store, I felt eyes on me. I turned, and there he was. One of the men from that night in Bela's apartment. My stomach dropped. I clutched my shopping bag tight, my heart slamming against my ribs. He smirked. Didn't think I'd find you, huh? I backed away. I don't want trouble. He took a step forward. That's too bad. I turned to run, but he grabbed my wrist. Let go. I hissed, panic rising in my throat. He leaned in, his breath hot against my ear. "Tell your boyfriend to watch his back." Then he shoved me away and disappeared into the crowd. I didn't move for a long time. My body shook so hard I thought I'd collapse right there on the pavement. I had to leave. Mustafa's life was his own. He didn't deserve my shadows creeping into it. That night, I packed my things. I was halfway to the door when I heard his voice. "Where are you going?" I turned slowly, my eyes burning with unshed tears. "I have to go, Mustafa." He crossed his arms, his gaze unreadable. "Because of what happened today." I swallowed hard. "You know?" "I know everything." He stepped closer. "And I know you're scared. But running won't change anything." "You don't understand," I whispered. "If I stay, they'll hurt you." He took my hands, his grip firm but gentle. "Then let them come." I shook my head. "I won't let them destroy you." He cupped my face. "They won't. Because I won't let them." And I believed him. Because this time, I wasn't alone. A week later, we got married. It wasn't grand. Just a simple nikah at the mosque, a few close friends as witnesses. But it was real. And when he kissed me that night, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. I wish I could tell you that the past never came knocking again. That Bela disappeared, that the men from that night never found me. But life isn't a fairy tale. One evening, I received a final message. "You chose him? Fine. But know this, your past never forgets you." I never heard from them again after that. Maybe they moved on. Maybe they were watching from the shadows, waiting for a moment to strike. But I wasn't afraid anymore. Because this time, I had something worth fighting for. Please like and subscribe and drop a comment telling me what you feel about this story.